welcome back to another episode of our life seasons where we talk about the raw and honest truth to navigating through the different seasons of life. I'm your host Wen. If you have been loving the podcast episodes, do leave a review of this podcast on whichever platform that you're on and let me know which topics are your favorite. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about staying motivated and being consistent in whatever that you're doing. Be it like a 9 to 5 or your business or just life in general. I've actually received this request from Rohan and Karina. So thank you so much for the request. I love all the requests that you guys have been sending me because when I record it, I know it will definitely help you guys and it makes me so happy. So anyways, I just want to preface by saying that if you're expecting like a step to keep yourself motivated type of podcast, you can kind of drop off now because if you know me, you'll know that I don't talk about what you can simply Google or find on YouTube. I will give you guys my perspective based on what I have been through myself, and this topic is very close to my heart, especially when it comes to finding motivation in a 9 to 5. You will be shocked at my advice and journey because I used to be in that position where I could not, for the life of me, find a way to stay motivated and excited in all like the 9 to 5 jobs that I have been in, and it's not easy to say that, to find motivation in all of those. I don't know. It might just be my experience, but I'm not saying that it's a bad experience, but it's just because of how I'm like. I get bored easily and I constantly need something new to fuel my soul, and that is something that I used to shame myself for because I can never stay in a company for more than 3 months. I would jump around and change jobs, which is commonly known as someone who does not know what she wants or who is committed, okay? Which is true, duh. Like, why would I be committed to a company that is not founded by me? I do not reap the full benefits of what the company is earning. That is just my point of view. At the end of the day, it is literally just a job for me to be financially comfortable but not fulfilling my soul. And that is what it is. Maybe for some of you, it can be, like your jobs can fulfill your soul, and obviously we need people like that, right? But if you're like me and your soul craves for more, for something more, and you never find yourself being able to just settle with a 9 to 5, or you just not comfortable sitting with a 9 to 5, or the thought of just working a 9 to 5 job forever, know that you're not alone because I'm like that as well, and it is fine too, okay? Don't ever shame yourself for wanting more, for desiring for something different, just because the majority says that it is open inverted wrong to job hop. We need people like us too, alright? But that is not to say like I hate 9 to 5. I do not. What I want to introduce you today is a change in perspective and also like a more in-depth view of the aspects of our life that we don't really think about, which plays a very, very big role in us not feeling motivated, which is what I'll be sharing in just a bit. Alright, so let me just start by sharing my story, or rather my journey of seeking motivation and getting out of the slump. So for context, I currently have a 9 to 5 job, obviously, and I'm running OLS on the side as a passion project. It's not a full-time thing. Obviously, I would hope to be able to run OLS as a full-time, but it's just, I'm just living it as it is right now. I'm just happy with where I am right now with OLS. So prior to being in this 9 to 5 job, I was in a job that I was really unhappy with because of how comfortable I have become. I was getting paid good money, okay, doing what I am good at doing, but I still somehow don't feel fulfilled. I know it sounds like a ridiculous problem to have, but trust me, nothing can ever replace my search for fulfillment. To me, it's always fulfillment over money. I have always desired myself to have like the best of both worlds, obviously, which is to get paid doing something that fuels my soul, and it's possible for a lot of people. I've seen it. An example is the content creators out there who started their journey because they simply love sharing or filming, and then they grow it into a business, right? It's completely possible. And I'm saying that for me, I need to find fulfillment in a lot of things that I do. I don't have commitments, like major commitments of having kids and having like, to renovate houses and whatnot. I don't have those type of commitments, which is the reason why I could chase after like my passion more freely. But at the same time, I'm also aware that some of you might even have commitments, but I don't want those commitments to be the reason why you don't chase after your dreams, or to be the reason why you don't feel fulfilled. When I mentioned about, the duality of life, I want you to know that even though with commitments, you are still able to go and find something that you're passionate about, find something that you're fulfilled in, and to be able to just carve out some time for yourself to just live in that fulfillment and just live in that enjoyment, okay? I am always someone that is never afraid to aim for the star and understand that, sometimes I might land on the moon and be completely happy still because at least I tried, right? That is my main motto in life is to at least I try and I do not have any regrets. So I job hop a lot because I always felt unmotivated to work after 1 month into the job. And I know a lot of you might relate to this as well. Everything would start to feel like a little bit mundane and I would not be motivated to work and just dread like the whole idea of repeating the same thing over and over again. It's like living a non-player character, like an NPC life, right, in a game. I hated it. I knew I had more in me and I knew what I was worth, which is what I talked about in episode 41 and 32, like the importance of self-worth. Looking back at my journey, even when I was job hopping almost every 3 months, what I really appreciated was me allowing myself to ignore what everyone else was saying about me and what I think the society might think of me, and stood firmly on my belief of what I have to offer, and it is my job to allow the company to see my worth and to see what I have to offer. So just like how I talked about, having non-negotiables in episode 33, I have my non-negotiables when it comes to a 9 to 5 job as well. And some can say that it's a crazy thing to do and it's a very, it takes guts and confidence to be able to do that. But I can say that it really saved my mental health. So to give you an example and an idea of what my non-negotiables are, I made it a point where every single time I leave a company to go to another, I make sure my pay was actually higher than before. And I'm glad to say that it did. And it was a minimum of an increase of 12K from my previous annual salary. Okay, so which is about 10% increase. So next is I am valued because that is where you have to leverage. And that is where you can actually leverage in terms of your pay, use that as leverage, right? And this is just how the corporate world works, which has actually helped me to get all the pay raise and give me that security and peace of mind to actually start our live seasons. And that was when the switch really happened for me. This value was very important. It is to know that I am valued where I am, or I am valued whichever company that I am, okay? And I really need you guys to understand this. If you're working a 9 to 5, this is very important. And these are just some of my non-negotiables. Obviously your non-negotiables can be different, okay? I'm just sharing my side of the story. So most importantly, my last non-negotiable is I do not work on the weekends and after working hours unless I get compensated, because weekends are reserved for my passion. Okay, I told myself that I was not going to go backwards unless it made sense, because as much as I'm not into this whole corporate ladder climbing shenanigans, I wanted to make sure that I gave myself the financial peace to fully focus on experimenting and playing with my passion project on the side. And that's just me. That is why my non-negotiables are my non-negotiables for a reason, okay? Oh, and speaking of which, what I found really helpful to keep me motivated and consistent in keeping up with whatever that I have going on in my life, whether it's my 9 to 5 job or our live seasons, is to prep well for a new week. And if you have not heard episode 45 where I talked about my reset routine that has helped me to not dread going to work and just start my week with that draggy and Monday blues feeling, please have a listen. Go and listen to it, episode 45, and even try it out. Let me know, because that was a life changer for me, hands down, the best routine that has attributed to my consistency in our live seasons and just being able to stay motivated for a longer period of time. Because I can tell you that having a 9 to 5 job and also running our live seasons is definitely not easy. But the reason why I could do it consistently almost every single week is, number one, because I set an intention that I would not miss any episodes no matter how busy I was, because it's just not an excuse that I was going to give myself, right? That's one. Another one is to also know that I am willing to give time and space for myself during the weekends to run our live seasons, because it's something that I really, really enjoy doing. So I will talk about this a little bit more at the later part of how my vision or how my definition of motivation is actually very different. So to me, our live seasons has always been something that I don't really find myself finding the need to be motivated, because the motivation just comes naturally for me, especially when our live seasons is something that I really, really, truly enjoy doing. So that's why I always mention that, when you really enjoy doing what you do, the motivation comes naturally. It's only when you're finding something that it's only when you're actually trying to find something that you want to do or you feel like you need to force yourself to do, motivation has to come in, okay? And I understand that, for 9 to 5 jobs, sometimes you really just need that motivation. So let me just change that narrative for you, okay? Like the later part. Now, the other part of course, other than, this routine and whatnot, is to find something that fuels your soul. So your soul, or rather your life purpose, okay? I know it can feel like a huge part that you dread thinking about. And I used to feel that too, right? Because just having to answer the question of what's your life purpose can be daunting, and it is very, very, very normal. Even up to now, you may not even know what your life purpose is, and that is fine, right? I may feel like I found my life purpose, but it might be very different few years down the road, few months down the road, right? It's okay. But what I want you to start shifting is your approach and narrative of these two words, life purpose. I understand that at a certain point in your life, we feel a need to, have it all figured out and be able to confidently answer what our life purpose is and what is the main goal of our life and all that, like big plans, big life plans and stuff like that. But and I always say that I believe that, whatever I'm going through right now in life, whatever seasons I'm experiencing right now, you guys are also collectively experiencing it with me as well. And it's just amazing to see that I could be able to provide a different perspective, or at least my perspective on how, I view certain things. And because of that, I recently had a conversation with one of you guys, and I got asked, what's your ultimate goal for OLS or for your life in general? What's next? This is a very, very tough question for me to answer. And some of you might not even know the answer as well, right? If someone were to ask you the same question. So as much as our life seasons is growing faster than what I expected it to be, and I'm super grateful for it, at the same time, I do not have a concrete answer or perfect answer to where I see myself in the next 5 years, not to mention the next 10 years or forever. And guess what? I own it. I'm completely happy with not knowing where I'm gonna be or what OLS or what my life will look like in the next few years or even by the end of this year. Because I trust that whatever happens for a reason. It has to happen and need to happen for the next stage of my life to play out. And that is what I've always believed in it. And I have come to understand in life that you just can't control anything and everything. And I want you to know that as well. And if you're thinking, oh my gosh, she's not a planner, she doesn't plan, I'm not like that, I can never be. Love, let me tell you something. I used to be someone that needs to have a plan to feel safe and secure. So I totally get what you're trying to say. I am that person who has like a concrete 5 to 10 year plan, even 15-year plan. I plan, okay? I plan for my entire life. Yes, I have it all planned out. But as I grew older, or rather as, things happen, I feel like life just don't work that way, okay? Things don't always go according to plan, but it will always turn out better than expected. Remember, the universe will only give you what it thinks you need and not necessarily what you want. And that is where the fun begins. So I want you to ask yourself, if you have your whole life planned out for you right now, and if the universe were to allow it to happen exactly the way you want it to, where is the fun in that? Where would the lesson come in? How would it be like a surprise to you? Just think about it. Everything will be so mundane and boring. And yes, you will feel safe and secure, but that's just that. And if you hear me say this enough, you'll know that growth does not happen in your comfort zone. There is no room for growth if we are secure and safe, okay? Just take a moment to let this seep into your mind. Think about like the most amazing thing that caught you off guard, that you get to say, oh my God, I did not expect this, but I loved it so much. It's the best thing that has ever happened to me, and I would never imagine it to happen. Or, think of that moment. Imagine if the universe were to listen to you all the time and let life happen the way you want it to. It would have deprived you of all the amazing times, right? It's usually these amazing moments or these like I did not expect moments that allow us to learn so much more about ourselves and allow us to just be excited and be surprised all the time. So I am happy to say that I do not have a plan now for anything and everything, but I have a vision, a desire, and an ambition. And those are very, very different narratives, okay? When we talk about having a plan, our mind automatically goes into this control mode of it has to happen. I hope it happens. And this brings out the control freak in us, and that is where disappointment and resentment stems from. Okay, we hold on to this plan so tight that we don't allow space for magic to happen. We are in this very rigid mindset, okay? However, if you talk about having like a vision and desire, we actually open ourselves up for the possibilities of what can happen for us. So thinking of the fun that you get to experience, and it stems from like a light-hearted energy of releasing control and trust that the universe will align everything for you. All you got to do is to have that vision, to dream and not be afraid to dream big, to ask with gratitude. So let go and allow magic to happen for you. Just the thought of it will stretch your mind. Okay, I want you to replay this part if you need to over and over again. And while you listen to it, I want your mind to kind of wander into the land of miracles and possibilities of what your life can be and what you get to experience, what you are worthy of having, okay? Yes, I want you to feel into it, sit with it, and soak in that good vibration, because trust me, sit in this long enough and you can start seeing your reality really shift, okay? Now, that is, what brews motivation. Because like I said, when you're in the energy of like attraction and inflow, creativity comes knocking at your door. ideas starts visiting you out of nowhere to a point where you really need to bring a notebook around you just to write down all your ideas that you have. Like this open inverted, how to stay consistent and motivated is the last thing on your mind. So you can see how all this kind of ties together. To be motivated, it starts from how your perspective of what you think is possible for you, whether you choose to allow it to control you or you allow yourself to kind of flow with life. Okay, this is when the whole motivation part kind of comes in. It always boils down to your perspective of life and how you choose to see life. Okay, now I want to talk about this 9 to 5 job perspective shift that I told you at the very beginning of this episode. This is for those of you who have a 9 to 5 job like I do now. I know some of you might have this thought of easy for you to say, like, how does it work when you have a 9 to 5 or rather you have a job and you need to pay a bill, right? Like, to talk about finding passion and whatnot. Yes, I agree. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you should feel motivated at work or that everything will be solved when you have that positive mindset, because I understand that if you're struggling to pay your bills or your circumstances just does not allow for that, it is not an advice that would work out. Okay, I 100% agree to that, because I was there before and hearing coaches or people just talking about how it really boils down to mindset and I just gotta be in this like happiness or just positive mindset all the time when I'm not able to pay my bill. It just does not help, and I'm not gonna give you that. So I want you to know that it is okay to have a 9 to 5 job. What makes a difference is how you choose to see it. Yes, again, it boils back down to perspective, and let me explain. I want to shift your perspective of having a 9 to 5 job, okay? I know some of you might be thinking that, oh my god, having a 9 to 5 job is like you have failed, or it's like shitty, like, you're not capable enough, blah, blah, blah. It's not like that, okay? I briefly talked about this one in, I think, one of my earlier episodes of our live seasons, and I want to talk about it again, okay? For those of you who know, there was a time that I was working for myself, freelancing as a brand designer and strategist for like startups, and also doing like dropshipping. I was exploring a lot of different things from the entrepreneurial side of things, and I had this mindset of, if I go back to 9 to 5 one day, it means I failed. And I used to hate the idea of going back to 9 to 5. Yes, I can admit that, because it hurts my ego to say or to tell people that, I tried entrepreneurship and then I failed, because that's why I'm going back to a 9 to 5. And it might not be the case, okay? I kept on pushing and I was really struggling. My mental health wasn't at the best state, and it actually manifested into my physical health not being the best as well. And everything felt like it wasn't ever gonna work. And some of you might be at this stage right now as well, even with your 9 to 5, hating it and just feeling stagnant and stuck in this loop of not knowing how to get out of it. I know how that feels way too well. What I want to say is that try changing your perspective on having a 9 to 5 job. Let's be real. If given a choice, everyone wants to be, free. They want to have the freedom of time to work for themselves, and that is what we think freedom is. So with a 9 to 5, we see it as a chore, right? We dread it and hate it because we think that it is what's stopping us from getting to the freedom part of life. But that is where I want you to know that freedom is actually a choice, okay? You don't have to wait to retire or to be rich to have that freedom. You can have it now. I know, don't roll your eyes right now. Let me explain. You'll never allow yourself to be free if you allow something else to control how you feel, or if you're still waiting for something to happen for you. As long as you have the mentality of, when XYZ happens, then I will be free, you will never be free, because XYZ will never happen. Okay, yes, I said it. Let me repeat it. If you're still allowing someone or something to control how you feel or how you make decisions, you will never be free. Sit with that. Freedom is when you have full control of your thoughts, emotions, and actions, and leave the how to the universe. Leave all this, how would it happen, like when would it happen, to the universe, okay? So let's start this change by choosing to look at your 9 to 5 job as a channel that allows you to have a peace of mind when it comes to finances, and see it as a path that supports your passion. So if you take on that, I promise you, you will feel so much more gratitude, and motivation will naturally come along with it, okay? So a lot of times when we have a question about like a certain situation or topic, for example, this episode, right, is on motivation and consistency. It's fair that you would expect me to be talking about, the action steps that you can take and whatnot. But in our live seasons, we dig deeper than just these surface level questions, and talk about like the foundation that needs to be established, which goes back to your narrative and perception of life. So if you view life a certain way with a certain narrative and take on that for years, nothing is ever going to look different. Okay, and I said this before, nothing changes when nothing changes. But once you realize that you have a choice to decide to take off this lens that you're viewing life from, you would be able to see things from a very different perspective, And that itself is very, very, very powerful, because then you become your own mentor. I want you to ask yourself right now, what does having motivation looks like to you? Is it something that you feel like you need to build and force yourself to be, or do you want it to come naturally for you? Yes, you get to choose, okay? You got a choice. If you prefer the latter, which is me too, of, I feel like having motivation is something that you don't really need to force, it comes naturally for you. I want you to accept the fact that you don't have to force yourself to find the motivation to work unless you want to climb the corporate ladder. And if you're climbing the corporate ladder and it's something that you love to do, which is totally fine, then the motivation should come easily, okay, from your work, from whatever that is that relates to your 9 to 5 job. You would not be asking this question. If you're like me and climbing the corporate ladder is not your thing, you just don't find fulfillment in it, and that's why you need to ask this question of how do I stay motivated in my 9 to 5 job, this will definitely come up, because I'm going to be honest with you and say that you can never squeeze or find motivation in something that you don't feel fulfilled or don't light you up. That is just facts. It's a tough one to swallow, but it is what it is, okay? I've tried clearly with all my explorations of the different industries that I was in, but you just can't find motivation if you don't love what you do. And even if you do, it won't last. The motivation won't last. You'll feel worse than working in a 9 to 5, where your motivation comes is your life purpose or your passion. Okay, that is where your motivation comes from. Your life purpose and your passion. Then this is where you have to ask a question of like, where do I find motivation? Because it will come naturally. You don't have to ask like, oh, where do I find my motivation when it comes to, you working on your purpose and your passion, okay? So the question is not how to stay motivated at my 9 to 5 job, but more of where can I find that motivation and fulfillment outside of my 9 to 5 job? Because I always believed that, when we are passionate about something that we do, or when we love what we do, the question of motivation or being consistent almost never comes up. Note that I said almost, because we are human after all, right? Sometimes we get tired, and that is fine too. It's normal to start feeling like something is a chore after some time, no matter how much you love it. And that is just how we work. The question is not how to find motivation, but more of how do you keep things exciting for yourself. Switch things up. If it's really something you like to do and something that you have so much passion for, and I'm talking about being able to do that one thing and feel fulfilled for long, and when it comes to that point, where you feel unmotivated or bored, I want you to ask yourself, what can you change or add into your current routine to either spice things up for you and ignite that flame in you again, okay? Doing something that fuels your purpose, that makes you excited, that you feel like just giddy thinking about it, that makes, your heart flutters when you think of the possibilities of what this idea could be, and you're just so excited whenever you talk about it. And this is something that I want you to do, okay? Is to do something that fuels your purpose. And this is me when it comes to our life seasons. And it took me a lot of trial and error to be able to find our life seasons as a passion of mine. So if you've not found that for you, don't worry. I want you to take your time. This might be the start of your journey to discovering your passion, the our life seasons for you. And for that to happen, you got to be willing to experiment and give yourself the space and mental capacity to try and drop things as you go. And that can only happen when you feel financial security. Okay, I'm not talking about having like 10k months or hitting an insane amount of monthly figures. It could just be having a stable income of 3 to 5k per month that you can pay off your bills, that you do not have to worry about not having enough money that is eating you up, and that is the sweet spot to be able to explore your passion, okay? And it's important to know that this passion just have to fuel your soul, make your heart sing, not one that you need to earn money from, because when you start to expect your passion to earn you money, that is where it won't work, okay? To me, it's important to have something that you're so passionate about in life. It can be a hobby. It doesn't have to be a business idea, like I said. Things like, baking, crocheting, dancing, reading, writing, whatever that looks like for you. We are all born with a life purpose, and the whole reason why we are put on this earth is to find out that life purpose and live it out. I'll give you my example, okay? I started our life seasons simply because I wanted my tribe, and I love to yap about all things wellness and life. I have strong point of views in life since I was young, and I'm sure you by now you will be able to tell, and that just came naturally to me. Being comfortable in front of a camera just came naturally to me. And our life seasons is just a path for me to combine all of the things that I love to do in one, and that explains, this unexpected growth and love that I receive from you guys as well. So I never expect myself to monetize our life seasons or have like a set plan on how our life seasons is gonna be. Yes, I do have visions and desires for our life seasons, which is only normal because I love it so much that I want to do it full time. I have so much ideas that even 24 hours a day is not enough for me. That is what you will feel when you find that path of yours. Okay, like I said, it takes time to explore, so don't rush it. All you got to do is follow your intuition and let it lead you. Follow little inklings of, stuff like, hey, that's interesting, let me try. Or, ooh, I like that idea, let me give it a go. Or, wow, wouldn't it be cool if this were to happen, right? All these are like your little inklings and like your compass to actually navigate your life purpose. I honestly can't wait for you guys to share with me your life purpose and what that looks like for you. And I can't wait for you to kind of show me how this episode has kickstarted your journey to figuring out what your life purpose is for you in the most fun and lighthearted way. Okay, please let me know if you do, and by tagging me in Instagram on wherever you're on. And I seriously would love to celebrate it with you guys. Okay, all right, as promised, before I end, I kind of want to leave you with this. Motivation and consistency can't be forced from doing the things that your soul is not called to do. However, you will see it come naturally when you actually start enjoying to do what you love to do and what brings you fulfillment. So please don't force yourself to stay motivated at something that does not bring you joy, because it's gonna just cause you to beat yourself up even more when you don't see that motivation or not being able to be consistent in it. What I want you to do is to find something you feel so passionate about and to kind of think about what is it that you really want. Something that you get lost in and lose track of time while doing it. Have a think about it. And you might not know the answer now, which is not very surprising. All you gotta do is to stay curious and try everything that gets you excited and where your intuition leads you. Trust it. That's all you have to do, okay? Nothing else. Let everything unfold for you, and that is where the fun begins, all right? So that's all for today's episode. I hope you stop forcing yourself to find motivation where it will never come up, but look at what other parts of your life will bring you that motivation naturally, like out of you. Also, if you have any like burning questions or topics that you want me to cover, please drop me a DM on Instagram at Our Life Seasons, or comment on whichever platform that you're listening to so I can get back to you. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!